Hi. So for video 2, I'm going to talk about my hometown a little. I look kind of fancy today because I'm wearing this fluffy coat, but it's just one that is for sale in my store, and I'm freezing, so... Anyway, so I have 2 hometowns, basically. I was born and raised until my parents got divorced in this town called LaGrange. It's about 20 minutes from Chicago, which is pretty close. It's in one of the western suburbs, and all of my family's from here. My mom and her sisters all grew up in the same house that my grandma still lives in, which is like a few blocks away from the store that I'm in right now. I went to elementary school up until 3rd grade here. My parents got divorced when I was 7, so my mom got remarried when I was 9, I believe, 9 or 10. And then we moved to Downers Grove, which is kind of my other hometown. So I've spent a lot more time in Downers Grove, but I have a lot more memories, I guess, attached to LaGrange just because of my family's here. I spend a lot of time out here. I still talk to some of the people that I like went to elementary school with and stuff. What was I gonna say? All right, so LaGrange, it's a very typical, like suburban Midwestern town, and so is Downers Grove. LaGrange is a little bit smaller, but there's a lot more to do. It's a much nicer downtown area. There's a lot of really great restaurants and a lot of like cute shops, like the one I'm in right now. Downers Grove is, there's a couple cool places in the downtown area, but they're not all that overwhelmingly exciting. There's I always say that everything to do in Downers Grove, it revolves drinking, whether it's alcoholic or not. Because there's an Irish pub that has $3 pints on Tuesdays, which is awesome. There's a wine bar right across the street from the Irish pub that has $3 sangria on Tuesdays. So they are like direct competition. They both do like pub trivia and stuff. So they're both cool places. There's like a little tea shop that has like the only bubble tea that you can get in the area, which is annoying because it's super expensive, but it's so good. So I always think it's kind of funny when, like how Sarah mentioned that there's about 4,000 people in their town, and I always think of Downers Grove as being a small town just because it feels that way, but there were almost 4,000 people in my high school alone when I went there, so I guess population-wise, I think there's like 30 some odd thousand people in Downers Grove, and then there's like 15,000 some odd in LaGrange. But they all feel very small. They're just spread out. So in LaGrange, there's like some of the things that I remember from my childhood, and shops are always leaving and new things are always coming in. It's always changing around here, just because it is a pretty slow town. So there's not a lot of business at any given moment, and when something does take off, it's really exciting. But something that I always remember as a child, there's this store called Hot Rags, and it's like a hippie store. Like my mom always shopped there because she was a big Deadhead. So they had Grateful Dead merchandise and stuff. So I kind of grew up going there and buying incense from there, and I don't know. It was kind of always a fun place to go, and I don't know. It's changed a lot and it's moved around a lot, but it's still here, and it still kind of has the main idea. A lot of they went through a phase where they were selling a lot of Ed Hardy stuff, which was kind of weird, but that's kind of one of the main places from my childhood that's in this town. There's also everyone in my family pretty much lives within walking distance of each other. So my grandma lives 2 blocks away from one of my aunts, who lives 2 blocks away from where I went to elementary school around here. So I know a lot of people in the area just from living there for most of my life, and having family around there for most of my life. So it's nice. It's a cute, quiet suburb. There was when I was, before my parents got divorced, in the house that we lived in, which was right across the street from my grandma's house, our backyard was right alongside of this park that was, like, we had to just squeeze through the fence and then go to the park. And so that was always really cool. And I remember one time they used to have gravel, and they were swapping it out for wood chips. And there was a giant mountain of wood chips in the middle of the park. So my sister and I would always go right there and, like, climb the mountain and, like, hang out on top of the mountain because it was, like, super fun. As far as memories in Downers Grove go, I mean, okay, we moved to Downers Grove when I was in 4th grade or so, just because my mom got remarried. My memories from Downers Grove aren't always, like, the best ones. It was a really hard time for me, just going to a new school and getting to know people, and I was always a really shy kid, so it was really hard for me to make friends. And so, I don't know, I don't look at that area as with the, like, best opinion of it, just because of the time that I was living there, and I don't really look at it very fondly. But I went to my elementary school. There was a prairie in front of it, which was always kind of a strange thing. They're big on prairies in Downers Grove, and, like, it's kind of as far as, like, the suburbs of Chicago go, it's kind of the country. Whereas LaGrange, you can actually see the city skyline from there. It's on a clear day. You can see the Sears/Willis Tower, and so that was always kind of cool being there. But Downers Grove is a lot more rural. It's about an hour from the city, so it's a little further out. It's definitely not like farmland or anything, but it's spread out. There's a lot of land, and there's a lot of woods and trees, and I have hawks flying by all the time, so I have to keep my cats inside. And but yeah, there's a prairie in my school. I used to have woods in my backyard at our old house that we used to live in, and, like, blackberry bushes and stuff. Which was, I mean, I always loved the blackberry bushes because we would go out and pick them until I found out that there were worms in them, and then I never even looked at it again. But that was always kind of like a cool thing. There was a lot of nature around. We moved once I was in high school when my mom divorced her second husband, to right down the street from my high school, which it's on, like, a busy street, but it's really centrally located, which is awesome. I could walk to school. There's, like, a little strip mall and a Jewel, which is a grocery store, right by there. So we would always just kind of, like, I don't know, hang out around there. And, like, there's a Dairy Queen, which is where everyone in town basically hangs out. And where my sister has worked for ages. But yeah, Downers Grove, I've got a lot of good friends. Not a lot. I've got a few really good friends that I still talk to from high school, but I don't know. I don't have too much attachment. I don't have as much attachment to Downers Grove as I do LaGrange, just because I don't have I don't have roots there like I do with LaGrange. I just live there. It's not like my home. So that's kind of the deal with the two hometowns. And in the time that my parents have been divorced, my dad's also lived all over the place as well. Like, he lived in the city for a few years, so I would have to go there weekends and stuff and spend time in the city or in other suburbs where he lived at the time and stuff, just until I was, like, 18 and didn't have to anymore. But so there's a selective places that are always, like, full of memories for me, but not necessarily one, like, distinct home. It's just I find home in a lot of, like, specific places, like this one pancake house we would always go to in the city with my dad. There's just a lot of memories there, and they had really good pancakes. So, things like that. One time in the city when my dad used to live right by. So in the second half of the video, I'm gonna take you kind of on a short tour of Downers Grove and LaGrange, and just so you can see, like, some of the places that I've talked about, anything I could get to in this amount of time with walking distance and stuff. So enjoy my quick little tour. Yay! So this is Downers Grove. There's the yoga place I go to, the knitting store. There's a cemetery. It's super exciting. What the fuck is going on? There's a wine bar, pizza places, lots of pizza places. There's a tea place. There's a library. It's pretty exciting. It's just kind of like a typical suburban town, like I mentioned before. My band played at this park when I was in a band in high school. This is the field that I kind of use as a backyard since I don't have one. This is where I built the giant snow penis. This is my high school. It looks like a prison because it was designed by a prison architect. It's a huge ass institution, but yeah.